Alright, listen up, GM, Chevy, and CEO Mary Barr of GM. This is the 2009 Corvette Stingray Concept. Arguably one of the most beautiful Corvette designs ever produced, but never actually turned into a production car. Purely designed by taking inspiration of some of the best Corvettes ever made, especially featuring the iconic split window from the original Stingray. This thing is incredibly slept on and hardly remembered outside of Transformers, where it was one of the coolest characters that we probably got in the Bayformers. Sideswipe. And it's not like this thing isn't remembered at all. It still gets toys. I see this thing everywhere I go. But for whatever reason, this car just never got made. It never made it into production. It always just stayed purely as a concept. Now, no one really knows the exact reason why GM decided not to make this car, but going through these comments, it is abundantly clear that people love this design, and they wish that GM did actually make this car. Now, sure, most of them may be Transformers fans, but I'm willing to bet that even the most hardcore of Corvette purists would buy this car in a heartbeat. Now, due to some of the quirks and features of this car, I can see it being priced a bit more expensive than a standard Corvette, but if these comments are any indication, people will be willing to buy it no matter what. It's clear that GM still acknowledges the existence of this car, as Hasbro recently gave us two brand new Studio Series Sideswipes that utilize this Corvette mode, meaning that they would have had to contact GM and Chevrolet to license this car so they can use it for the vehicle mode. Do you know what other car Chevy made a concept of that never had plans of making it to full production? That's right, the Camaro. Chevy never wanted to make the Camaro into a full production car until Michael Bay showed up and said, "Yeah, I like this car. I want to use it for my movie." And the rest is history, as the Camaro went on to become the famous yellow robot we all know and love. And people loved the Camaro so much that they pressured GM into making it a full production car. Now, just like Bumblebee, Sideswipe quickly became a fan favorite and was the only new robot from Transformers 2 to be featured in Transformers 3, sporting this brand new convertible design. And I could see why they won't give us this version, but I think we all want the hardtop instead. And while the cars may not be in production, they still show up occasionally in movies, as the convertible one was most recently spotted in Free Guy. This car was so ahead of its time that you probably won't believe that it's a concept from 2009. I remember as a kid in 2009, I saw the ZR1 and I was like, alright, that's probably like the last of the Z06 models. And I was very disappointed when this came out. I remember being so excited that they were announcing the brand new Stingray, expecting it to be the 09 concept, and then they hit us with this thing. Another generic looking Corvette, but slightly updated. And, I mean, it's alright. Funny enough, they did use it for a Transformers movie in the form of crosshairs, and they did make it look pretty cool. I've gotten pretty used to the look of this car, but it is certainly not the Stingray that we were all hoping for. Now, the C7 does take some cues from the 09 concept, mainly the taillights and the front grille, and some other aspects sprinkled in, but you could see why so many people, myself included, were disappointed that this car really was never going to get made. But if fans were able to pressure GM into making the Camaro into a full production car, then why not this? Maybe because it's too expensive? But my counter argument is that the whole point of a Corvette is that it's supposed to be an affordable sports car. There is clearly a market for this car, as people have actually sought out to recreate the car using their own Corvettes, and like I've showed previously, people do want this car. They still talk about it till this day. Hell, I'm making a video about this car. You can't even use the argument of, oh, well, they can't make it because it has a split window and it potentially blocks the view of the driver. Well, my counter argument is that ever since 2015, there is a law that all new vehicles have to have a backup camera to assist the driver when backing up. Couple that with the fact that cars like Lamborghinis and Bugattis have way worse obscured back windows than this Corvette design, and they're able to get away with it, then why won't Corvette be able to make this car? Compared to some of Chevy's other concept cars, the Corvette seems a lot more tame and a lot more realistic to be made into a full production car than some of these. And seeing that some of the original concept sketches for the car had it looking like this, the one that we did get not only looks better, but it's a lot more practical too. But alas, the C7 came and went, and we got this. Now, if you're a diehard Corvette fan, you may want to click off now, as I'm about to rant about this car for the next minute. Okay, so what the hell were they thinking when designing this car? It doesn't even look like a Corvette, it just looks like a generic supercar that they stuck Corvette parts on. It looks like something out of Roblox. Now look, I know they've been trying to make a mid-engine Corvette since forever, and there are ways to make it look cool. Hell, this car even has aftermarket parts that give it the split window. I wish this is something that officially came from Chevy. Now, I know they're going to be staying with this design for a while, but I hope they do eventually end up bringing this design back. As a matter of fact, I even have a pitch on how they could do it. And it's, in my opinion, the perfect way on how to utilize this design. And it has something to do with the brand new E-Ray. Whoa, hey, don't click off the video just yet. I'm sure you think you know where this is going, but just hear me out. I know no one likes electric cars, especially if it's going to lead to another Mustang Mach-E fiasco, but just hear me out. I think the perfect way to bring back the 09 Concept Stingray design is by making it an all-electric Corvette. Now, I'm pretty sure I just pissed off every 60 and 70-year-old watching this, but like it or not, the Corvette is inevitably going to go the full electric route sooner or later. And I think this design would perfectly suit an all-electric Corvette. Think about it. This car still holds up. It still looks modern and futuristic enough while still retaining a lot of the iconic Corvette body designs that we all know and love. Sure, it would sacrifice the engine sound of the car, which for most people is important, but think about the kind of performance this thing would have. Now, this car did have a hybrid V8, and if it did make production, it would have been the first hybrid Corvette. But seeing that it took them this long to give us the E-Ray, and it seems like they're going to be sticking with that design for a while, I think it's a bit too late for them to make this car with the V8. I know, that's not what anyone wants to hear, and believe me, in a perfect world, we would all be driving around in this car by now, the way it was meant to be enjoyed. But that's why I'm making this video, because I want to see this car come back from the dead. I want to see this car make it to full production, and I don't care how they do it. The only real issues that I could see them having with this car is obviously the doors. I think it would be a bit too expensive to give this car to us with its butterfly doors that you see, so maybe just settle for giving us regular doors. And the next thing is, obviously, it doesn't have indicators because it was only ever meant to be a concept, but they could just give us some small little indicators. Finally, the trunk. This car was not made with a trunk, but I'm sure someone talented enough could figure out a way to make a working trunk for this car without giving it too many ugly panel gaps. But aside from some other small tweaks and changes to make the car production worthy, and of course some safety things that they would probably have to do, that's really all I can think of. Now, while making this video, something that caught my attention was that this car never appeared in any racing games, and there's no solid information about its performance because it was never driven over 80 miles per hour. There is currently, however, a vote going on to have this car added to a Forza game, so if you want to see this car added to a racing game, make sure you go vote for it. We are now reaching the end of the video, and honestly, I hope this video blows up and garners enough attention to convince anyone at Chevy or GM to reconsider making this car as a full production car, because it worked for the Camaro, Let's see if we could capture lightning in a bottle for a second time and convince them to give us the Corvette that never got made. Hey, congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. If you like what you saw, be sure to give it a like. And while you're at it, subscribe to the channel, as it greatly helps out. As always, thank you for watching. Okay, real quick, I know I already showed the end title card, but as I was putting this video together, Dodge came out with this thing. This is supposed to be the last hurrah for the V8 muscle car, which further proves my point that if they truly want to make this Corvette, they're gonna have to bite the bullet and make it all electric.